Hello ladies and gentlemen, PlayAsia supplied me with this copy of this game, so if you want to support me and the channel, use the link in the description to go and buy something, and there's also a coupon code you can use to save a couple of bucks off your order. You'll be helping me out and hopefully you'll be buying something good. Thanks for your support, enjoy the show. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I picked up the Switch version of Devil May Cry 3. I've been playing it for a bit and I figured I'd rant about it a little because, well, it's an opportunity to talk about Devil May Cry 3. It's something that I've wanted to do for some time because I own like 4 copies of this game, and despite that I've never actually finished the damn thing, and I still haven't done it for this video. Congratulations me, good job. But I still decide to play it anyway on Switch. It's like, yeah, it's literally the 5th copy I've got, I think. I've got 2 copies on Steam, the original PC version and the HD edition. I've got it on PS3, I've got it on the Switch now. What's my 5th copy of it? I'm pretty sure I've got a 5th one lying around somewhere. But I did also play it on, like, the original PS2, although I never actually owned a copy of it. So, well, there you go. I played 5 different versions of it, and they're all the same bloody game. Nevertheless, if you've never played Devil May Cry 3 before, it's basically the game that codified character action games. Like, there was the original Devil May Cry and Devil May Cry 2, which no one talks about, but Devil May Cry 3 was definitely the one that set most of it in stone. High-speed action, flashy combos, usually a ranking system, and Devil May Cry 3, while it didn't invent these things, put them all together in one of the more satisfying ways. And they were also supplemented by things like Beautiful Joe and what have you. But if you think of a game which has a fancy dude with hardcore combat trying to take out enemies that are particularly dangerous and getting style points for it, this is like the game that you think of straight away. Which is the reason why I've played so many times, and it's probably also the reason why I haven't finished it, because it's bloody hard. The gameplay itself is actually pretty simple when you get right down to it. You've got an attack button, and sometimes if you leave a pause between your presses of the attack button, it'll help you do more combos. Each weapon in the game has something like 3 or 4 of these. There's also a bunch of extra moves you can get by doing things like pointing away, while pressing the attack button to do things like an aerial launch. Most weapons have that, not all, because of course all the weapons are slightly different. There's also long-range weapons. You've got shotguns, you've got pistols, you've got a bloody laser rifle. There's a couple of others I can't remember because, as I said, I never get around to finishing this bloody game. So frustrating. But, yes, you get a bunch of different guns and a bunch of different swords, and normally in this game you're not able to actually swap between them freely. There's a mod on the PC version. Actually, no, sorry, I'm not talking about the weapons in that case. I'm talking about the styles, of which there are 4. And that's what your 3rd button does, in this case it's the A button, where you get an extra set of moves. If you're using the Gunslinger style, you'll get moves for your guns. If you're using the Swordmaster style, you get moves for your weaponry. If you're using Trickster, it's a dodge. If you're using Royal Guard, it is a guard, which brings down the amount of damage you take. It doesn't completely stop it, but it'll definitely bring it down a lot. So, normally you're not able to swap between styles, but in this version of the game, you are, officially. There are mods for it that let you do it on the original PC version. I don't know if they actually migrated that mod to the HD edition version on PC. They probably did. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But you can swap between them in this at any time by pressing the directional buttons, and considering this game isn't actually designed for it, the other games in the series are after this, but not this one. Considering the game's not designed for it, it's not actually very necessary. You can swap between them at pretty much any time, but my usual thing when I play Devil May Cry is to go with the Swordmaster style, because it gives you all the different moves you need, more or less, anyway. And once you get used to like one style, you usually won't want to go off it, because all the styles level individually and actually include new moves as you go. So there'll be moves you'll only be able to use in one style and another style and another style. And considering that you've already got a bunch of things you need to remember with your weapons to begin with, it's also a bit strange just in that regard, just to pile some more stuff on top of you that you don't need. You do, of course, have a jump button. If you have an enemy locked on, you can use that to dodge out of the way. It's all pretty simple stuff, if I'm being honest. The one thing that kind of lets this game down a lot is its camera. It's very Resident Evil-y, because this series, which was originally meant as a Resident Evil spin-off. So all the cameras are pretty much locked in a specific position, and sometimes you can find yourself getting attacked off screen. And in my case, sometimes means a lot, because if there's any kind of camera problems whatsoever, I always end up getting attacked off screen by something, and it drives me mad. And it's a quite slowly moving camera when it's not locked as well, not to mention it's inverted and you can't uninvert it. So I find myself having a lot of trouble with this goddamn camera, and it gets me killed more than I would like to admit. It's probably the only major problem the game has though, because if you're just even remotely paying attention to the action on screen, even for like a 15-year-old game at this point, it's got to be close to that, surely. It feels great. It's definitely a very stiff game. That's one of the things that's most notable about it, especially if you play a lot of like, let's say, well, not Clover-developed games, but Platinum-developed games in particular. They're very lightweight. They feel like you have a little bit more movement than you might expect, a little bit more maneuverability. In this game, you definitely don't. It's definitely a game that makes you commit to your moves, and there's very little in the way of evasive maneuvers, especially if you're not using Trickster. You do get the ability to dodge with Trickster, but if you don't, well, the best you've got is a bit of jumping and a bit of rolling. Sure, you can upgrade to get like double jumps and stuff later, but man, I will admit, it's a little rough. And it can be kind of hard to get used to, especially if you're just coming off the back of, say, Nier Automata, or Revengeance, or Astral Chain, or what have you. It's very easy to get used to, though, because the one thing that this game nails, even a decade and a half later, is weapon impacts. They all feel right. Most enemies get even just, like, the minorest of twitches, like, even when you shoot them with single guns, like the Ebony and Ivory. Even if you shoot them with Ebony and Ivory just a little bit, you'll see them flinch. Even if it doesn't make them stop moving, you'll see them flinch, and that's more than enough. You can see some really nice animations going on here, like just vibrations against the floor, loud, obvious, like dings when you have your attacks blocked, and especially for you, when you get hit, because you'll see a big lump of red blood, and you will stop moving, basically, and also lose your style meter. So you do want to avoid getting hit as much as possible, and thankfully the game does give you a fair amount of, like, times to get that done, right? It gives you plenty of opportunities to get that done. But again, the camera just kind of works against it, because enemies are more than happy to try and attack you off screen. They do kind of, sort of make the effort to be as close to the camera as possible. Not only so that you can see them coming, but sometimes you can hear them coming. Not all the time though, because the soundscape in this game can be pretty intense once it gets going. But still, the action is very satisfying. It's a lot of fun, and it's really supplemented by the style meter up there in the top right. So, the style meter is a very simple concept to understand. The more hits you land, the better your style meter is. And it is one of the main things in this game that keeps you from getting, like, top level ranks. You have to get really good on the style meter, you have to be really fast, you have to take no damage, and you have to collect as many orbs as possible, which are basically the game's money. Also, make sure you don't use any items, they'll always give you an S. So, the style meter it's pretty simple to understand on the surface. D, C, B, A, S, double S, triple S. And the better you do, the higher it goes. And if you take a hit, it goes away. Thankfully, they're also pretty generous about how long it lasts. So, you do need to keep your attacks up pretty frequently, but at the same time, the game will be like, you would start at like B or A if you finish off all the enemies and then start another attack chain later. That's nice. The thing about the style meter, is that in order to actually keep increasing it, you can't use the same attacks. You have to use different combos. You have to use different weaponry. Although, not really different weaponry. You just need to be swapping between your sword and maybe using your guns to keep your chain up a little bit until you can get back in with another combo. And the more combos you do, and the more just general variety that you've got in your moveset, the better your style meter will go up. And the game actively tests this as well by giving you these little statues from time to time that you need to get a certain style meter ranking on with just one weapon. And these can be pretty devilish. And I spent like 2 minutes in this footage going over to one and just hammering away at it, trying my best to get it up to triple S. And I'll let you figure out if I got it or not, but trust me, even I was surprised. But yes, it is such a simple tweak. Use as many different moves as you can, demonstrate the mastery of your weaponry and all of its combos in order to get the most points possible. And it just works so magnificently in motivating you to learn as many of your moves as possible and put as many of them into action as possible. It works fantastically for this purpose, and you always feel super satisfied when you manage to get that meter up to a stylish. And it's also a sign of a really good player who can keep that meter on stylish for as long as humanly possible. And I do nothing but give them the thumbs up for being that good. However, it is kind of fiddled with in this game, in the sense that you actually have the ability to swap weapons on the fly with the new freestyle mode as well. Usually you'd have to visit the golden hourglass statues, the divine statues I think they're called, and that would let you swap your weapon and your ranged weapon and your melee weapon. But in this game you can just pull out any of the weapons at any time, more or less. The controls are a little bit fiddly. If you press the buttons, it goes around clockwise in a circle, or you can hold them down and select them with the analog stick. But I found it to not only be really fiddly, but for the life of me, and I will admit this is entirely my failing, but I'd like to know if this applies to anyone that isn't me. But for the life of me, I kept getting the buttons for swapping weapon and swapping ranged weapon confused. Even when I swapped the buttons in the goddamn control menu. I do not know why it is so difficult for me to deal with this, but generally I just kind of walk into a room, assess the situation, and pick my weapon as I so desire. So I didn't really have a problem with this, but as far as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be anything stopping you from swapping weapons in order to maintain a good combo. But if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think this is going to apply to 99% of people who are going to play this game, because finding it out where you can realistically think to yourself, okay, I need to swap to X weapon in order to, like, get this combo on this dude, then I'll swap to another weapon to get another combo on another dude. No, it just doesn't work like that. Devil May Cry is a game where you can pretty easily think to yourself, oh, this one weapon will be good for this situation, and then play through with that for the entire room. And it actually works pretty well in that sense, which is why I just didn't find the need to use the weapon switching that much. It's an interesting concept, don't get me wrong. I don't mind that it's there, I found myself not using it anywhere near as much as I expected to. And I've played through the beginning of these games so much, I know them like the back of my hand, and I still found not that much use for it. Like, I even got stylish, which is like SSS, multiple times in this footage, somehow. I didn't know I was that good at Devil May Cry. I'm usually not able to get anywhere near Showtime, let alone stylish, but there you go. I just found myself, like, doing surprisingly well. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, except for like the top 0.1% of players who challenge themselves to use every single weapon in a single fight, because there are even enemies in this game which are like more vulnerable to certain weaponry, like the Agni and Rudna boss. I don't remember what they're called, they're like the Demonic Guardians or something. They're actually weak to Cerberus, which is the nunchuck style things. So you just find yourself using one weapon for one situation, and that's fine. That works absolutely fine. It's okay. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, it works as is. So the freestyle stuff, while a nice touch, it prevents you from having to go back to the Devil Hourglass or the Divine Hourglass and swapping out your weapons. It's fine for that purpose and that purpose alone, which makes me just appreciate the touch in this a little bit more. And the style switching is about the same, really, because, well, I use a lot of, like, swordsmith techniques in order to get up to stylish, so It's fine. I'm not going to claim to be a very good Devil May Cry player. You've seen me die a couple of times already in this footage, but, well, that's just it, I suppose. I'm kind of a casual Devil May Cry player more than anything else. I haven't even bought 5. I need to get around to buying 5. I've got 4, but I haven't even beaten that. I haven't even played that yet, now that I think about it. What am I talking about having beaten it?
I'm beginning to think I've got...
Talk about the technical side of the port for a bit. It looks fine in 3D. A little bit pixely, but, I mean, 15-year-old game. I'll give it a little bit of credit for that. The sound doesn't sound too great. I don't know if this is just me or if it's the game itself, but the overall sound quality is just not great. It sounds okay, but I've got this going through a pretty decent pair of speakers and it just does not sound too good. Like, the quality is not great, like they've been trying to compress some of the sound a little bit. Only some of it. Some of the speech sounds a little bit weird. Some of the sounds can sound weird sometimes, but it's okay, I guess, for the most part. I don't know if this is me or not. Like, it might just be a Switch thing, because I've played this game on like 4 other platforms, and this is the one I remember it sounding the worst on for some reason. But there you go. Frame rate is pretty much rock solid. Again, I've played this on like 4 different platforms. I know what this game playing smooth is like, and it's fine. It works absolutely fine. You get all the same options that you get with Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition on the PS2, and of course all the HD versions, which are based off that. I fully recommend sticking with gold, because yellow is bloody pointless, considering that it basically makes you go through the entire mission again if you run out of gold orbs. It's just dumb. So please play the gold version when they say new game. It will do you just fine. You don't really need to beat it on yellow to say you've beat Devil May Cry 3. Don't be one of those people. I haven't tried Virgil yet, but Dante works fine. The controls feel about the same as they usually do. I haven't noticed anything particularly off about the way the Pro Controller works. You do have the ability to play local co-op in the Bloody Palace though, which is a new feature. And even more notably, you can do it with single Joy-Cons, and I can't even imagine how much of a pain in the ass it is to play like that on single Joy-Cons in the Bloody Palace, but for some reason they just did it like that. I don't know if it works or not. I'm not going to try it, because God forbid I try and play Devil May Cry on something that small, but it's fine. It seems to work. It's okay. And yeah, Bloody Palace, local co-op, another one of the things I added to this port. Cool, I have no friends, but that's alright, I suppose. There are plenty of other things about Devil May Cry, though, which give it a little bit of replayability. All the different difficulties, like one-hit difficulty, there's a hard difficulty, a one-hit for you and them difficulty, a one-hit for you but not for them difficulty. And of course, you've got the Bloody Palace, 999 floors of respawning enemy waves, and thankfully it also gives you orbs for the main game, so if you find yourself getting stuck, you can just back out and practice, which I actually really appreciate. There's a few games that have modes like that which just do jack for you, so it's like, come on, give me something to at least encourage me to practice a little at least. They're kind of dicks in that sense, but not in the sense for Devil May Cry 3. It works fine for Devil May Cry 3, so yeah, what else do I have to say about it? I actually really enjoyed Bloody Palace. It's not 999 floors, by the way. There is footage of it here, which disproves that. You can go, like, up 1, 10, or 100 floors, so you can just, like, jump straight up, but sometimes it's better to take it slow, so that you can do things like heal up and get your Devil's Trigger back, which just makes you faster, stronger. You know, the basic thing that a hyper mode in these games does. Although I have very little experience with Devil Trigger. That doesn't give you an idea of how many times I've started on this game but never managed to actually finish the damn thing. That should give you an idea. Yeah, I really do need to finish this goddamn game off. Maybe I'll turn it into a Let's Play, but nah, probably not a good idea. I die so goddamn often just as soon as I get to something that I can't really get through. The one thing that this game's really got going for it, though, is not so much its variety, but its ability to mix things up. It does keep introducing new enemies as you go, along with, like, sticking in the old ones. And there are a lot of different bosses with a lot of different ways to actually take them out. It's great in that sense, but the combat manages to be refreshing pretty much all the time, not only because of the different difficulties, changing up the layouts and all that, but since you've got all these different weapons, all these different styles, and they come up with a lot of different ways to place enemies around to give you a challenge, it never gets stale, which is impressive. Some might say it gets boring, but it never gets stale. They always know how to remix it in just the right way to keep it interesting, which I thoroughly appreciate, because games that get stale but not boring eventually end up becoming boring, but games that know how to fend off staleness will keep boring from setting in a lot faster. So I don't know what else I can really say about Devil May Cry. There is a plot, but it's kind of silly. Like it's a prequel to everything, but honestly, I don't know if anything really, like, again, I haven't finished it, so I'd be hard-pressed to tell you that much about the plot, but it's something. Dante acts like a smartass. He needs to go kill his brother. There's probably someone big and more evil behind everything that's going on. This giant tower surfacing in the middle of the city. That's pretty much everything I know about it so far. Also, you get followed around by a jester who insists on attacking you from time to time. That's a bit weird, but other than that, it's just hard not to like Devil May Cry once you get used to it. It is quite a difficult game, and after you die 3 times, they let you go and play on easy mode, but that's not something I usually do. Like, I have some honor, damn it. There is also something that I kind of appreciate in, well, pretty much every version of the game that isn't the original PS2 version, and that's the fact that it's got a turbo mode, which literally just makes the game like 20% faster. No other benefits, no other bonuses, you can just play the game a little bit quicker if you like. This isn't on turbo mode, but I just thought I'd point that out. Like, how often do you get a game re-release that's like, hey, you can just play the game like 10% faster now, or 20% faster, or what have you? Not many, so it's a bit weird that this game does it. I have played it a bit on turbo mode in the past, and it definitely makes it a bit more rougher on the reflexes, so I usually stick with the normal mode, but it's nice to have it there. There are some other options involved as well, but again, as I said, you can't really do anything about the camera, including inverting it, which I really wish you could do. You can remap not only the controls for like the dual Joy-Cons and the Pro Controller, but the single controller as well. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. Things like brightness, volume, you know, all the usual stuff, the language and all that. Nothing wrong with that. So it gives you all the basics. Notably, this is still the old HD remaster version from like years ago that came out on the PlayStation 3 and then got re-released on basically everything else. There's nothing particularly wrong with this version, but there is like one thing I'd like to say about it. They even add things like new tutorial screens to explain the fact that if you're in freestyle mode, you have the ability to like freely swap between weapons and ranged weapons. But it's all still in 4x3. The tutorial screens, the menus and what have you. I'm still annoyed that they never took the opportunity to like redo the menu screens and all that to fit in 4x3 better, and it makes the FMVs really suffer because they zoom in on them a lot. And it makes them appear really pixelated, like you're watching a 240p video on YouTube. It's not great. Really would have appreciated some kind of like little update to the menu screens for, you know, just to look nicer. They don't look terrible. I'm just saying I wish they took the effort to actually do it at some point, especially since they've re-released this version like 5 times now. And this is looking to be the definitive version until they manage to backport these efforts into the PC version. Then you can play it at like massive frame rates. I was getting 240 on this computer when I was trying to play it, like back when the PC version came out. But yeah, Devil May Cry has been Devil May Cry 3 at the very least. I'm not going to claim to know about the other ones, but Devil May Cry 3 has been a fantastic action game for 15 years, and the Switch port doesn't really do anything to change that. The things like adding your ability to change your weapons and change the styles just saves a little bit of frustration. It's not really something you can really effectively put into the game's combat flow, but at the same time it prevents you from needing to go back to the hourglass and change everything up, which I appreciate. No, absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm just gonna say that I wish I had taken the opportunity to put it in all the other versions so I could have it in my PC version, but oh well. I'm gonna let the rest of this footage play out. I'm not a very good Devil May Cry player, so there'll probably be a few points in this video that I'll cut in between, like, deaths, just so I don't look absolutely terrible. But yeah, I am actually better at this game than I give myself credit for, like, seriously. How the hell did I manage to get the triple S with next to none of, like, the actual extra moves for the sword, or I can't remember the damn name of it. But yeah, I'm still impressed with myself for pulling that one off. I just thought that was cool, alright? I'm impressed that I'm actually better at this game than I give myself credit for. I'll just let you watch the rest of it if you need more info on how this game plays on Switch, but really it runs fine. If that was your main problem, go for it. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.
was your motivation? Why do you refuse to gain power? The power of our father, Sparta.
Father? I don't have a father. I just don't like you, that's all.
Foolishness, Dante. Foolishness. Might controls everything. And without strength, you cannot protect anything. Let alone yourself. Yes. Now the spell Sparta cast will be broken. I see a devil inside you has awakened as well.
Wait. We should leave. For the moment we have all that we need.
Yeah!